can go through in the next 5 minutes. And if there are additional questions, we can do either a follow-up technical meeting or we can have another appointment. Yes, proceed. The Parliamentary Budget Office has done an analysis that indicates that since 2013, 299 billion has been disbursed to counties as conditional and unconditional grants. This committee is concerned that we don't seem to have a very clear view on how the 299 billion or 300 billion has been used over the last 10 years. Proceeds, yes.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, again, this was in response to the questions that were raised by the committee. First, I'm required to provide the current policy and funding framework guiding collaboration between the Government of Kenya and the development partners in financing county programs and projects. And number two, I will explain the criteria used in determining the type, amount, and distribution of conditional grants to county government. And there are other issues, two more issues that I'll deal with. So quickly, so that I don't spend much more time, this is my response regarding current policy and funding framework guarding the collaboration between GOK and development partners. Collaboration between the Government of Kenya and development partners is guided by the Public Debt and Borrowing Policy of 2020, which provides a strategic framework for mobilizing and managing external resources in line with the national priorities. Under this framework, the National Treasury facilitates the negotiation and signing of financing agreements with development partners for sector-specific programs and projects. These initiatives proposed by relevant ministries, departments, and agencies, MDS, may target county-level implementation based on identified needs and sectoral focus. So while the National Treasury manages the financing process, implementation is delegated to the responsible MDS in accordance with the financing agreements, and this structure ensures that development partner resources are aligned to government systems while allowing for decentralized execution at the county level. However, Chairman, I want to point out something before I move to the next. If you just rely on this written response that I've given this committee, you may think it is a bed of roses in terms of the relationship with funding from development partners. The reality is not. The reality is the opposite. The reality is that we have a lot of challenges in terms of development partner funding, both at the national level and the county level. Why? One, we have committed so much to development partner projects which don't even take off for a myriad of reasons. And one of the reasons is the way we have been coming up as a country with what programs to be funded has been largely supply driven, where development partner from nowhere just appears and tells you, I have money here, I want to put it in this sector, and we pick it up. Some we even put, and there are condition precedents of counterpart funding. You lock it there, and it has even locked our budget to the extent our fiscal space is this narrow. Yet we have so many projects that are not progressing, and they have clogged the system. Whether it is World Bank projects, and we are working with World Bank to review their programs to that effect in terms of absorption. A lot of challenges. We don't even provide the counterpart funding, yet that is a requirement. You find there are accountability challenges, you have procurement challenges. So the reason why I did not put that here is because the government has taken note. And the Deputy President's office and my office are working. We have formed a team that is working in reviewing all the engagements and development partner funding in this country. We are reviewing the whole portfolio. We are looking at the challenges. We are looking at even how then do we get to projects to be funded by development partners. They must come from something. They must come from a government priority program based on Vision 2030 or better concept or that concept or that manifesto of the government that will be in power at any given time. And that must cascade now to the the county integrated CIDPs, so that we tie development funding, development projects to government planning agenda, because we have not been doing that, and see how to deal with the challenges that these development partner projects are facing. If a project requires counterpart funding and we don't have it, there is no reason why we get into it. We must just say we are not ready for this program. And if the requirement by the development partner in terms of procurement is against or going contrary to our Public Procurement and Asset Disposal Act, then we need also to state that from the onset. We end up, Chair, even paying commitment fees and charges. We are charged for idle money that we have not even spent. And we have been doing that for years. So, in a nutshell, this is a work in progress, Chair. I want to just report that we are doing a complete overview and overhaul of development partner funding. I thought I should explain that. On the second question of the criteria used, which will be partly explained by what I've just said, but I want to say this in response, that the criteria used to determine the type, amount, and distribution of conditional grants to counties is dependent on specific projects and programs. They are therefore agreed upon between the county governments where the projects fall and the implementing MDS. Such information is summarized in the framework for management of each conditional grant that the MDS develop and submit to the National Treasury for inclusion in the county government's additional allocations bill in each financial year.
CS,
yes.
I know you had requested that at 12:30 you had another engagement. It is 12:33.
I could leave in the next 12 minutes.
Since you have your submissions in writing,
yes,
we could take note and maybe just ask, is there any part of this submission that you want to highlight or to emphasize so that I can save you from having to read everything verbatim?
Yeah, no, I actually, I wanted just to point out some of the things that are coming up, like in question 4, I've actually explained in my off-the-cuff remarks.
Yes, yes. Yes.
Where I've explained on what basis are we coming up with these projects to be developed, to be funded through development partners, through conditional grants and other grants.
Maybe one thing that,
yes,
and what prompted this interaction is this question: who is
who invites county executives? And we were asking ourselves, really, as Public Accounts Committee of National Assembly, should we be dealing with the county government staff, or this matter we can refer it to the Senate? We were belaboring. We were trying to argue with ourselves. But again, according to the way it is structured, the money comes through the line ministry, and so the State Department that disburses the money to the counties, the accounting officer becomes again responsible in terms of PFM Act. So it is a challenge, but it depends on the design of each program, depending on how the development partners have agreed with us. I think what going forward we may need to do is to put up a system where it is very clear who the accounting officer is for each disbursement. But as at now, I'll agree with you that it is a gray area that my ministry must deal with. I don't know whether that answers your question, Chair, but it is an area that I think we have to engage our minds to better.
Can we have a framework where it's almost like an intergovernmental agreement? Because we've had this problem with RMLF. Because RMLF, when it was being sent to counties, and I think it's the largest disbursement that has gone to counties as conditional grants, PBO indicates that cumulatively 42 billion was sent to counties as RMLF when it was still active. The figure could have been higher because there was a year where it was made part of equitable share. But then the accountability arrangements for RMLF was reporting through the Kenya Roads Board. And then the Kenya Roads Board would appear before the National Assembly. And yet there's a county roads work plan that is defined, that is approved and implemented in the counties. And when you are a member of National Assembly, that there was a lot of duplication of projects. RMLF, maintenance from RMLF and maintenance from the kitty of the member of National Assembly. And so a lot of money would get lost. how can we design a framework where once that money goes to county, then we let the counties be the accounting officers through some intergovernmental arrangement? Yes.
Yeah, I think that is something that we can look into, and especially now that we are likely to come up with a new legislative. So, Chair, I think that is something that we need to look into, especially now that, especially on RMLF, that we have to come up with a new legislative framework to guide it, because there is now none. I know the matter is in court, but if that matter was not appealed, I think we would not have any legal framework really to spend the money. So we need to capture, if we are going to involve, because the courts at that level, at the High Court level, had said we must include the counties. So in the process of doing that, then we must again come up with how then do we account for the money that is given to the counties. But I wish to report also that already we are coming up with a policy. The National Treasury is coming with a national policy on intergovernmental fiscal transfers. So all the monies that will be transferred to the counties or other whatever agencies, there is going to be a clear policy on how that should be accounted for. And that would clearly help us in dealing with this challenge that presently we are facing.
Thank you. Perhaps one of the reasons why my members are in and out is that we have a speakers Kamkunji that was starting at 12 o'clock. So that also puts pressure on us to go and join that Kamkunji. But I think that you have done justice to the questions that we had sent to you. What I want to propose as the next steps is that the technical teams, and I'd like the project manager for this National Steering Committee to be in close contact with the PBO and with Parliament. We will do an assessment of the responses that have been submitted and see where the gaps are, and if there are certain gaps in terms of information, we can try to get the information back from the technical teams, and if that fails, then we will have to call the CS. But it was important for us to get the policy perspective from the CS. On systems, I think systems, we must also apply our minds to it, and I think we might need to have a separate session where we are looking at the entire systems landscape, because we would like to support you to have an efficient, automated government, e-government, and we must find a way of compelling county governments to automate their operations. I said earlier that you sit now at the national government, and you could go to a county that ideally ought to support the government because they voted for that government. But if the county government is underperforming, then the disaffection is not just, people sometimes cannot differentiate those two levels of government. Maybe the clever ones can differentiate, but if they go to hospitals and they don't find drugs, they'll say SHA is not working. They will not say the county government has failed. You talked about on-source revenue, and I am seeing a problem. Many counties had overestimated their OSR on the basis of fees from health facilities. Now, I've heard your colleague Duale talk about the need not to charge fees in level 1, level 2, level 3 hospitals. I mean, even Homa Bay County grew its own source revenue as a result of greater efficiency in collection of hospital fees. But with this new SHA arrangement, with these new health laws, should we expect them to continue collecting the hundreds of millions from health facilities? And yet they have built a budget on the basis of those collections. They have gone ahead and signed something with CPF, which I think is something we still need to discuss and find out whether the necessary guarantees were obtained and whether it is an arrangement that required guarantees. I think that's I'll have a one-on-one with you on that, since we come from the same county, to ensure that everything is done accordingly. But it was based on expectations that they were going to collect revenue. So if the health facility revenue is not coming, where will they plug the 500 or 400 million gap to ensure that that loan is repaid? So we will have some follow-up conversations, some before the committee, some perhaps I might just walk over to the Treasury. I want to propose also the steering committee. Let us do a national workshop for oversight bodies, particularly focusing on county governments, where the Public Accounts Committee, Public Investments Committee of the Senate, alongside the Public Accounts Committees of county assemblies, because that's where primary oversight should be. CS, we tried as a committee to consider the audit reports of county governments by 30th of March for the first time. It was not easy, but no single county assembly was able to consider the financial statements and the reports of the Auditor General within those timelines. And so you have a responsibility for capacity building. I think that's also a responsibility of the National Treasury. And your representative has always told us that, you are doing things, you are making proposals, you are sending policies to counties. So I believe this should not be a problematic thing in terms of budgeting. Is that something that can be organized? A national workshop on the standards, on the transition for oversight committees? It's something that can be done.
Chair, I think my answer is yes. We'll just look at the logistics around it,
yeah,
and see. In terms of cost, we'll check, but I think it is the benefits may be outweighing the cost.
Correct.
Because we need proper understanding of this system. And I want to just maybe conclude, I know you will be the one concluding, that the chair, as I said on 12th of June, going forward is going to be a lot more of reforms. A lot more reforms, because that is where Kenyans are complaining. They are complaining of misuse of their money. The taxes that are collected can serve us, but the misuse is too much. That's why you see we have, almost in every area, we are bringing reforms just to close some of the taps that have been exploited over the years. Thank you.
Yeah, so Clerk, please liaise with Dr. Ndungu and the Treasury so that we set up that conference. You know, CS, IBEC was supposed to be the forum for CC's finance from counties. And then governors hijacked it. And then it became a political forum. So we don't seem to have a sectoral working group for CC finance. It was supposed to be IBEC. So in this national workshop, we can bring in even the CC finance so that we can get their perspective. On Article 225, we've agreed that you're going to apply your mind to it, but we'll also extract our list of shame, looking at several parameters, I think the fiscal responsibility principles are already defined in the PFM Act, and we can also add additional considerations coming from the report of the Auditor General, and we can have a conversation and initiate some debate so that even if you are to invoke Article 225, these counties would know that they have been given an opportunity to reform and they have failed to do so. Particularly, and one, you talked about counties not paying salaries. But the saddest thing is counties paying salaries but not remitting statutory deductions. And it runs for a year. And yet that money has been requisitioned. And you wonder where that money is redirected. Surely, CS, for counties like those, why should you continue sending the money when you send the money, they are not remitting statutory deductions, employees are not getting medical attention from SHA, employees are not getting credit facilities from SACCOs? I mean, these ones, you cannot be accused of overreach.
And Chair, just maybe to address that before, am I taking your mouth? Let me take the mic from your mouth. That's why we are coming up with this integrated system, and it is going to cure that. And Chair, if you want to know something, it says, MDS are ready, and we are rolling it this month. In fact, it was supposed to be in July. There was a bit of technicality. We allowed August. August, we are going to have all salaries paid through this integrated system. For MDAs, they are ready. For county assemblies, they are ready. County executives, they are not. So I was given some excuse that they can be ready in a year. I have said no. They must be ready. All these challenges you are talking about, that the vote is one and the department are spread, the same way national government has various departments, so are the counties. So we must implement it. And you know the biggest culprits are county executives, where we have parallel payroll systems, some manual, some this, and we hear of ghost workers. Even county governments have come out to say they have been having ghost workers in their system. So, Chair, I want to agree with you. We are taking action on that. We are integrating the system. We will be deducting all this at source. Because, you see, if you give me my salary, you are supposed to pay my salary in full. And what these paying agents have been doing is we are paying me part of my salary and retaining part of it, which I've given authority to go somewhere, either through statutory deduction, through law, like pay as you earn, NSSF contribution. Others, members have given approval to go to their pension, and you don't remit it. When I retire, I'm expecting so much. I am told your money has not been remitted over the years. It is frustrating, and that we are curing.
And again, it is criminal. And Patrick, the OAG did a special audit on county government payroll?
Yes, Chairman. And the reports were put in Senate last week.
Last week?
Yes.
Did they cover all the 47 counties?
All the 47 counties.
So we'll do a matrix so that we prioritize perhaps the top offenders, and we'll have interrogations. And perhaps once we are done with interrogations, when it comes to policy recommendations, we will call in the CS at the end of that interrogation, because a lot of bad things are happening when it comes to human resource in county governments. I think with that, we could conclude. Senator
Dulo. Waziri, first, thank you so much. And I'm sure it's good to have you in that position, since you understand Parliament and also what's happening on the ground better. But I think my advice to you, if not for anything, put proper disciplinary systems in place within the counties. And I'm sure even members of public will appreciate that. Because if they actually pay tax and they get proper service delivery, that is something that they will be able to appreciate. So before the expiry of your term, which we don't know when, put proper disciplinary systems in place that hold counties accountable. And the second bit, accountability, independence of the assembly. It's really very critical, because executives are actually frustrating the assembly. And that is why they are unable even to carry out their primary oversight role. Something needs to be done. If you need assistance of the Senate, we will be there to support for you as far as legislations are concerned. But independence of the assembly is very critical. I thank you.
Thank you, Senator Dulo. Anything in closing before we adjourn? Yes.
No, just to thank you, Chair, for calling us this opportunity to explain some of these reforms that we are putting in place to make sure that the taxpayers' money is used prudently, economically, and realizes the objective for which we are taxing Kenyans. And I'll agree with you, we will take action and we will show by example, demonstrate that it is not business as usual. And yes, in terms of a disciplinary action, I think it is important. So I agree. And Chair, we've had very good engagement. I thank you for steering also this committee the way you've done it.
Thank you, CS. We will continue the conversations formally and informally. I think I prefer a committee engagement rather than the plenary engagement, because plenary, you don't have an opportunity to get to the bottom of issues. But we shall also not call you unnecessarily. I think empower your technical team that whenever they get a call from our clerks, they should respond. They don't have to wait for the CS to be the one to appear before this committee. We understand your many other engagements, and I believe we can achieve a lot through the technical teams and through your liaison officer who is sitting in this committee. Thank you, everybody, and that brings us to a close of this meeting. This meeting is adjourned. We shall, next week we have devolution conference, and so we'll not have committee meetings, but I've noted that we've got something we are supposed to do at the pavilion in Homa Bay. So our next meeting will be the Monday. Is it the Monday? The Monday? Monday, the 18th. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, CS, and your delegation.